So C minus P plus 1 because I'm not changing the pressure.
Yeah, because pressure is almost like constant at these
One
reactions.
atmosphere.
180 m. Yes.
180. Then can you tell me that in eutectoid transformation, what is the value of F freedom?
Um, Sir, it is. I think it is. So
Zero.
three.
It is zero.
Zero. Yeah, yeah. Zero. Because the three phases are involved in the reaction. So
Yes. Because gamma, alpha, Fe3C. These are the three phases which are involved in the reaction. But can you tell me why perlite is not considered as a phase? Why perlite is not considered? Just think. It's a very simple thing. You learned in chemistry.
yes, sir. Because like the it is. So because it has two different phases. It is like
So
it's a mixture actually. It's a
Mixture.
mixture of two phases. So
Yes. So that's what in chemistry you learn. Na? You mix sand and any other thing together, okay, and you don't form, there is no homogeneous distribution, nothing happens. So that's called a mixture, right? And so there's a difference between a mixture and a solution, right? In chemistry. And even in metallurgy, there's a difference between a phase and a mixture. So never confuse between a phase and a mixture. That's a long thing. So okay, very good. So we can say that a eutectoid transformation in the case of a binary system is an invariant reaction. Okay, where it will, so if it is an invariant reaction means what? Degree of freedom is zero. Degree of freedom is zero. So degree of freedom is zero, if it is, which means that the eutectoid transformation or even the peritectic transformation also, and even the eutectic transformation also in a binary system. So they will always happen at a fixed composition and a fixed temperature. Okay, remember this. Okay, so this is one thing. Now the other thing that I will tell you is, so if you look at this composition, so okay, now coming back. Okay, so in the case of eutectic, you have pro-eutectic phases. Right? Pro-eutectic, right? Pro-eutectic. Remember what is a pro-eutectic? Pro-eutectic, guys. Pro.
sir, like in the case like where we don't have the exact reaction happening, like we'll have a phase that will be present uh, uh, uh,
That
based
will
on
be
the
the first phase to
composition.
solidify. Yeah, that
Yeah,
will be
yeah.
the first phase to
The first
solidify.
one solidify in case of like
Whatever. So in
yeah.
the case of if it is a eutectic, then it will be the first phase to solidify before the formation of the eutectic. That is called the pre-eutectic or pro-eutectic phase, right? That's the pro-eutectic. Even in eutectoid, you have this. See, even if you look at this phase diagram very carefully, see, you have gamma here. You have gamma at this region. Okay. So here, this is the this point. What is this point? This is the eutectoid point. So this S point S. Point S is the eutectoid point. And now look at this phase where you have, this is alpha, right? This is alpha ferrite. So this is alpha plus gamma, and this is what? Gamma plus Fe3C. Both are different phases. Just look at these, okay? So, and what is this? So I will explain everything, but first let us understand that why are we writing alpha ferrite plus pearlite plus Fe3C, and why here are we writing pearlite plus Fe3C? I will explain this. So if you now have if you are somewhere here 0.4 weight percent carbon, okay, suppose you are, because this is 0.8, so it's committal wala, so it is around 0.4 weight percent carbon, and you are here, so around 1000 degrees, okay, and you have austenite, okay, because austenite is a thermodynamically stable phase at 1000 degrees, and you are just cooling it, okay. This is called the A3 line, remember this always, okay. This is asked many a times in the interview. So this is A3 line, this is A1 line, this is the lower critical temperature line, this is upper critical temperature line, and this is the upper critical temperature line for the hypereutectic, for the hypereutectoid composition. This is the hypoeutectoid, na? Right? I'm right, isn't it? This is the hypoeutectoid and this is the hypereutectoid. So this line, always remember, this is called the ACM line. This is the ACM line. So like ACM comes at the subscript. This is the ACM line. This is the lower critical temperature line. That is the A1 line. And this is the A3 line. And this is the A2 line. Okay. This is the A2 line. This is the magnetic transformation line actually in this iron carbon phase diagram. Okay. So now coming back to the point where you have 0.4 weight percent carbon and you are having your composition somewhere here 1000 degrees, where you have austenite to be the thermodynamically stable phase. Okay. So now you are cooling it very, very slowly. Suppose you cooled it till this temperature. So around 769. So what is the stable phase at 769? Tell me, what is the stable phase? Stable phase. Stable phase is fast. Come on. At 769 degree, what is the stable phase?
So what's the composition for the
composition is 0.4%. See, I am again showing you. Look at the mouse cursor. You are having 1000 degrees the initial starting composition. You have what is the phase here? Gamma, right? Gamma. This is gamma, right? Gamma region. Because see, this is gamma austenite. This is austenite. See,
Yes, sir.
I'm zooming in.
Gamma plus alpha is a stable phase at.
See, that's what. So gamma plus alpha. Now you cool it below, you reach 723 degree. So now, and then you cool it. So what is the, okay. So now can you tell me which is the first phase? Because see, below this, what is stable? This alpha plus Fe3C. Na? Below this, 723 degree, what is stable? This is alpha plus Fe3C. This line, 723 degree. This alpha plus Fe3C, that is perlite. Actually, this perlite has to form, right? Perlite has to form. So what do you think? So in this case, what do you think is the pro-eutectoid phase? Which is the pro-eutectoid? Remember, which is the pro-eutectoid? Okay, I will give you a hint. This might be a bit difficult for you. I will give you a hint. Can you make the lever? Can you think of the lever rule? What is happening? Say, suppose I would have stopped at a temperature somewhere around, a bit above this 769. And then what would be the volume fraction of alpha and gamma? And what would be the volume fraction at 769? Which would be greater? Then can you think of which is the pro-eutectoid phase?
So I think alpha ferrite is the pro-eutectoid phase.
Why? Okay, good.
Because gamma is transforming to some alpha before it transforms into
not
the
alpha. Gamma is transforming. Again, tell me again. Here, see, you have alpha initially that is formed, right? From the gamma initially there is alpha, and then you have some gamma also, na? The remaining gamma also, na? Because gamma, I mean, if you go below the A3 temperature, what is there? Gamma transforms to alpha plus gamma, isn't it? Then this gamma, the remaining gamma, which means that is in the product, that remaining gamma transforms below 723 degrees to what? Perlite. Isn't it? Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
See, first, again, is it clear to you or not? I will again explain. See, first you have gamma, okay? Suppose you have gamma. Again, look at my mouse pointer very carefully. See, 1000 degrees. So you have 0.4 weight % carbon. You are at 1000 degrees. You have gamma, single phase gamma here. You are cooling it. You cross this line. You cool below this line, A3 line, and you are reaching a temperature somewhere around 769, where I'm claiming that we have alpha and gamma. Both are the stable phases. Two stable phases we have, right? If we have alpha and gamma, both are the stable phases, this means what does this mean? This means that gamma, which is a stable phase, transforms to alpha. Okay, transforms to alpha, and some amount of gamma is remaining. Okay, so some retained austenite, right? There is some retained austenite, so some remaining amount of austenite which is there. Now, when it cool below this 723 degree, this temperature 723 degree, that remaining austenite transforms to what? Perlite, right? This that is called alpha plus Fe3C. So in the case of hypoeutectoid steels, okay, hypoeutectoid steels, guys, do you know? So tell me, what is a hypoeutectoid steel then? What is a hypoeutectoid steel? Hypoeutectoid steel.
Sir, the one which has less than 0.8% carbon composition.
Okay, 0.8%, less than 0.8%. So tell me that what is the microstructure there? I've already told you. You tell me what is the microstructure in the hypoeutectoid steel? Simple. I told you already. The answer is given. What is the answer?
So there'll be gamma plus alpha, right?
Gamma plus no. Steel. Hey, steel room temperature. How will you have gamma?
At room temperature. Okay.
Room temperature, na? You form.
Yeah. Like perlite only we'll have, na? Perlite, alpha ferrite plus Fe3C.
Alpha ferrite is okay. Right, exactly, correct. Now you have to set the right answer. So here alpha ferrite is nothing but the pro-eutectoid alpha ferrite.
Yeah.
And you will have another.
Fe3C is the yeah. Yes,
and you have another type of alpha ferrite which is present in what? In the mixture. So you have two alpha ferrites. One is the pro-eutectoid alpha ferrite. The other is the eutectoid alpha ferrite. Eutectoid alpha ferrite will be present along with this thing, along with perlite. Along with the cementite. Okay. Right. So you have alpha plus perlite, where perlite is a eutectoid mixture of alpha and Fe3C. Okay. Remember this thing. Okay. Never make this wrong. So now tell me, since I've told you the logic, now suppose I am at a composition, I'm giving you a hyper-eutectoid composition. I'm giving you around 1 weight % carbon composition. suppose you are around here, यहाँ पे हो तुम, so you are around here, and you are suppose initially having the temperature of 1000 degrees, and you are having so now think that when you cool it down below 723, just cross the A19. So what should be the proetectoid phase? Okay, what should be the proetectoid phase?
Fe3C.
So Fe3C will be the proetectoid, and it will have PLite also, right? In the room temperature, because when you cool down below 723, it will have PLite, right? Right? I'm saying that below this temperature you will have perlite, but you will also have this Fe3C, which is what? Which is proetectoid. This is proetectoid and this is perlite, right? So that's what. So now can you tell me that okay? So Fe3C. Now tell me about Fe3C. The Fe3C, what do you think? Is it brittle or is it? I mean, should you have like the for structural application where you need ductility, should you have a Fe3C in your steel, or should you not have?
So what's the question?
Question is, suppose I need a steel for structural application. I need a steel where I can put it in my window grill. Okay, in my house. Suppose in the window grill of my house. So should I use a steel which is having a hypoeutectoid composition or a hypereutectoid composition? I am making the question simpler.
Sir, hypoeutectoid composition.
Hyper or hypo?
Hypo.
Hypo. Why?
So because like Fe3C gives strength, but it also adds brittleness to the.
That's what I'm saying. It is hard and brittle. If you have Fe3C, so that kind of steel. Do you know where hypereutectoid steels are used? Hypereutectoid steel. It is hard and brittle. So just imagine where you can use this. Cutting apparatus, cutting tools. Where you use so in the lathe machines and all, where you cut. No, if you go to the workshop, you will see some cutting machines. So they are mainly made up of hypereutectoid steels. Okay, there is some addition. That is a different thing, but they are made up of hypereutectoid. So hypereutectoid generally people don't deal in the structural applications. Mainly people deal with the hypoeutectoid compositions only. Okay, so remember this thing. Okay, so always remember. Okay, and the other thing, ferrite. So what do you think? Ferrite is what kind of phase? Is it ductile or not? Ferrite is ductile, right? Ferrite. What is the crystal structure? Same. I told you already. What is the crystal structure of alpha ferrite? Hey, by the way, what is the crystal structure of gamma?
FCC.
So in alpha ferrite, what is the crystal structure?
BCC.
So if it is BCC, it will have. See, I can say that okay, your alpha ferrite is not as ductile. I mean, it may not be as ductile as as your gamma, high temperature, very high temperature. But then but definitely alpha ferrite is ductile, right? It's definitely ductile because it is having a BCC structure, body-centered cubic structure. It is having well-defined slip systems. Room temperature around 12 slip systems are operating. Okay, although it has 48 slip systems, but 48 are not operating. Okay, so room temperature there are 12 slip systems which are operating. So alpha ferrite is ductile. It is not brittle at all. It is definitely ductile. And there are also other complex reasons also. I mean, it's not as simple as 12 slip systems. Alpha ferrite, there is much more. I mean, the deformation mechanism is much more complex. I'm not jumping into it because, and that is the reason alpha ferrite is very, very ductile. Okay, in the case of steels, alpha ferrite is very ductile. So fine. So I think you have understood this. So because so that's what. So PLite. So today's focus is basically to find out, using ImageJ, the software that you all have. What is the interlamellar spacing? So, okay, very good. Let me ask you this thing. So, PLite, what is the morphology? What is the morphology of PLite? I told you the answer already. What is the morphology of PLite? Morphology, come on. What is the morphology of PLite? I already written on the board also. I mean on the screen also.
Yeah, sir. Alpha ferrite plus Fe3C.
No. I'm saying morphology, shape. I'm asking. It is written right. Lamellar morphology.
Laminar. Okay.
Lamella. Have you seen a lamella in a plant? There are lamella, right? So in the plant leaves there are lamella. So that's called a lamellar morphology. I will show you the picture. I will show you the image. See, this is how you have a lamellar microstructure. See, you have this is okay, and it's a 0.8% carbon steel. What will you have? If you apply the lever rule, you will have 100% PLite. You will not have any amount of alpha ferrite. So that is the limit. Okay, below the, I mean beyond that, you never use steel for structural applications because see this is completely this is called the this is called the eutectoid steel. Okay, I mean this 0.88% carbon steel. I mean if you look at this composition, see the dotted line, this dotted line. This is nothing but the steel actually at the room temperature, 0.88% carbon steel, which is having a fully paleotic microstructure. Okay, so look at this. So these, see, if you look at the white regions here, so see this. If you look at the white regions here, these are the alpha, and these are what? What is this? This is the Fe3C. Okay, these black regions. So these black regions are the Fe3C. So again, you have alternate lamella. You have alpha here. Black regions are Fe3C. White regions are again alpha. Black regions are Fe3C. So like this. So if you now look at, so I have made a schematic here. So if you now look at, so in this case, like in this microstructure, this interlamellar spacing is 0.86 micron, and I have measured it using, I have taken a number of readings, around 20 readings I have taken using the image, and I found it out 0.86 micron. So now this is going to just explain that how do you find out the interlamellar spacing? Okay, so in the case of halite, if this is alpha, you have Fe3C. So alternate lamella, na? Alternate lamella. This alpha Fe3C, alpha Fe3C, alpha Fe3C, like this. So the interlamellar spacing you have to find out from the midpoint of Fe3C, midpoint of Fe3C phase, the lamellar phase, to the midpoint of the other, I mean the adjoining, okay, I mean not the adjoining, or the nearest Fe3C phase, okay, to the midpoint of the nearest Fe3C phase. So here that distance is equal to S, and that is nothing but the interlamellar spacing. Okay, that interlamellar spacing, I mean today's classwork will also be based on that only. Okay, and this has been obtained from a very good, very well-known professor of steels only, from HKDH Badeshia from Cambridge University. And you can look at his videos, and he has excellent lectures on this paleotic transformation. Okay, so fine. So S. So what is S? Now your question might be, what is? I mean, S is what is S? S is the interlamellar spacing. But what does S depend on? Okay, because not in all the steels we can have this S as similar. Na? S will vary. S will vary on will depend on thousands of factors. Okay, so S depends mainly on the thermomechanical (TMT), thermomechanical processing conditions. Okay, so like, did I deform the steel? Did I hot roll the steel? Did I cold roll the steel? And then did I slowly cool it down? Or did I, whatever, whether I deform the steel tensile in a tensile fashion, and then I anneal the steel sample, or do I have a cast sample? So it depends. Thousands of factors are going to govern your S. Okay, so mainly, so these are called the thermomechanical processing conditions. Okay, always remember this. S mainly depends on that. And also S plays an important role in defining the strength of a plain carbon steel. Okay, now I will ask you some basic questions from this. So what do you feel? So why do you think S plays a role? Interlamellar spacing plays a role in defining the strength. That is the reason we are studying this. Why do you think S plays a role? Interlamellar spacing plays a role in defining the strength of plain carbon steel. Why do you think? Any idea? Come on, whatever comes to your mind, tell me. Anyone? Is the question clear? First of all, I'm asking, why do you think S plays a role in defining the strength of a plain carbon steel? Guys, have you heard of the Hall-Petch relationship? Hall-Petch?
No, sir.
Okay. So in Hall-Petch relationship, I will tell you what is that. Okay, in just very simple terms. Okay, I will not go in details about that. It's a simple thing. See, if you have a grain, if you have a fine-grained microstructure, okay, if you have a fine-grained where your average grain size are very, very small, then in that case, you will have more obstacles to what dislocations or dislocation movement. So in that case, your the strength of your material goes higher up, okay, goes very high up. So in that case, similarly in the case of this kind of a morphology, if you have the spacings as very small, then again it is very difficult for the dislocations or for any uh, you know of course I will to make it simple for you, I will only talk of dislocations. So dislocations, especially when you deform the material plastically, it will be very hard for the dislocations to cross the obstacles, because the spacings are very small, no? The spacings are very small. It's very difficult for the dislocations to move. So that is the reason why if you have a very fine lamellar spacing or interlamellar spacing, your strength will go higher up. Okay, so fine. So just remember this thing. You will learn this in your higher classes, so that you will learn this, that how exactly is this going to play out. But I just told you the abstract of it. Okay, just a very small part. So remember, so that is the reason. See, the first question that might arise in your mind today is, why are we learning S? So the S governs a lot of things. Okay, in the case of plain carbon steel, especially when you have a coil-latic microstructure, or wherever you have pearlite in your steel. So definitely S is going to play a major role in understanding what is the strength contribution from the pearlitic phase. Okay, so just understand this. This what is here. Okay, so this is today's classwork. Okay, okay. So what is this morphology called? I mean, this is just what is this morphology called, guys?
Lamellar spacing.
Lamellar morphology, not spacing. Lamellar morphology, right?
Morphology.
So now you have to find out use your image J and find out. I told you the funda also, that how to find out the interlamellar spacing. So you take around 20 readings or something. Okay, you take it from the different grains. You take it from the different grains, and then you tell me what is the average interlamellar spacing.
Sir, what did you like? What do we have to send as a final thing? Like we have to mention all the readings, or we just have to mention the final answer?
See, better when you write the classwork, you tell the readings, because see, we just want to know what is our approach. Okay,
Okay,
final
sir.
outcome, but we just want to know how you are trying to do it. Okay, so
So, sir, around 15 to 20 readings that you take, right? Or
yeah,
20 readings minimum.
minimum you take 20 readings. If you can take
Okay.
more, I have no problem. Maybe I will give you around 15 minutes. Oh, sorry, I didn't share this
Yeah, sir, that's right.
yeah. 1 minute. I will share it with you also. Just a minute. Just a minute. I will share this
We have to
image.
find the length of those gaps, right? Like basically
Yeah,
the
gaps. Yeah. So
between
yes,
two
yeah,
white
yeah.
gaps, we have to between two
Black gaps.
black gaps, we have to find the
Yes,
distance.
because both are peelite, right? Both are peelite from the center point. From the center point of one peelite, you have to zoom in. Okay, where you first
Yeah, yeah.
you know how to calibrate using the scale. Okay, 5 micron scale bar is there. You just calibrate based on the scale. Then you zoom in. Zoom in. You can do that in this thing. In this what to say, this thing image J, and then you find out. Okay, and then you find out the. I will send you this image once. Just wait a second. Let me stop sharing for some time because I need it. Just 1 minute. Just a minute. Yeah, guys, I've shared it. Okay, in this Google Classroom. Just you check. And tell me whether you have received it or not. I mean, you just can you open it or not? I've put it public actually, so I think it should work. Okay, I'm giving you around 15 minutes, 15 minutes to tell me the answer. Okay, I will start sharing the screen also. Maybe you can understand, you can see the thing better. Okay, to find out the inter lamella spacing, you just use image J and tell me the answer. Okay. Yeah, guys, can you see my computer screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you solve it. Okay, 15 minutes. I'm
So,
giving.
so basically, like, we'll use straight line.
Yeah.
So, like, so once again, can you overthrow, like, in short, what exactly we will do with images software?
I will tell you. See, first you take this, open it, and then first you put your scale bar. Okay. First you set your scale bar to 5 micron. Okay. You draw a straight line from here to here. Okay. First you load your image, then draw a straight line from here to here, and then go to analysis and set scale. Okay. Go to analysis and set scale. Ah. And once you go there, then you can, then you see the known distance. Known distance is something, and you have to set scale to 5 micron. This length in this microstructure equals to 5 micron. Then based on that, you zoom in. Okay, maybe you zoom in this region. You can zoom it when you just double click on the mouse. It will zoom in. Okay, so you just zoom in, and then you have to find out that maybe the distance between the midpoint of this to the nearest lamella. Okay, so you will get a number of readings. Okay, you will get a lot of number of readings. So based on that, you take the average and tell me the answer.
Okay, sir, got it. So distance will be between the two midpoint of the white
No,
region.
not white, no, black, because it is pearlite, no? Distance between the
Okay.
two, the midpoint of the pearlite.
So the midpoint of that.
So distance between two white lines, right? Like between
No,
two
no, no,
ends
no,
of two
no,
white
black,
lines,
black,
right?
black, 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 black.
Okay.
This
Black.
is black, no? That is a pale light, right? Pale light. Distance between the two pale lights.
Oh, okay.
I will again show you. Maybe I will show you. See, Fe3C,
Okay, okay. Between two. Okay, sir. I
yeah,
actually took it
cement
between.
light,
Okay,
sorry.
okay. I'll do it.
Uh, so it is coming for 12 reading around 0.289.
Okay, fine. So you have considered the distance between the two black
Yeah, the
cement,
midpoint of two black one.
two cement lights, two cemented lamella, nearest cemented lamella.
So
So you
answer
get
is correct. Yes, sir.
so I think yeah, because this is a very fine microstructure. I think yeah, I've done it myself. It was around 0.3, but okay, I did it around for 10 readings or something. It's okay. You do it more readings. You tell me the exact accuracy. You will try it for more readings. You have still 5 minutes more left. So you can
Okay, sir.
and just check how much is it coming. What is the precision you are getting?
So it is 7.24 for 18 reader.
Correct. That is correct. So anyone who was done?
So like exact, what is the exact?
So exact value, exact value actually varies between 0.2 to 0.3. I mean, if you take
Okay.
more readings, these are all statistical things. You take more readings, it will be more precise things. But okay, I mean, it is correct only. So if your answer is between 0.2 to 0.3, then it is correct. There is not a problem.
Okay, sir.
See, I will tell you the other thing. I will tell you the other thing. Okay, so this microstructure that you are seeing, do you know what kind of image this is? Is this optical? Is this SEM? Or what is this? What is this image? Actually? Which kind of microscope it has been taken from? Any idea? Guys, come on. This is easy. Optical microscope or SEM? I'm not even telling you here. What is the difference? Is it taken from optical? What do you think? If you look at the scale bar, okay, give it a thought. Then I'll tell you. Guys, anyone got the answer? Any other guys? Arya, what about you? You said you were calculating. No one.
Doing, sir, doing.
How many readings have you taken?
Sir, just a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18. I've taken 19 readings.
19 is okay. One more to take and take.
So I'm getting 0.68.
Oh my God. I mean, Arya, again, please recheck again.
So because some are very wide, like for some readings I'm getting 1.448 and all like that I'm getting. Because certain spaces are very thick, right? So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, in that case, when you take very, very thick regions, then do one thing. You have to take, okay. I got it. Okay, so you are taking for more regions. And if you take, then better. That's what I'm
I'm
saying.
taking across all the regions. So like I'm taking 3-4 in one region, then the 3-4 in other region. Then I'm doing like that actually. So
Oh, okay. In
so
that
if you see in the top part, like in the top
yes.
grain, there are those thick lines, right?
Yes, I've seen that. See the lamella in the between, they are quite thick. Yeah. So
And
that's
then when we take even in the bottom, if you see, then even in the bottom there are some thick lamellas, right? Like in
yes.
the
So
yeah.
in that case, do one thing. My suggestion to all is that wherever you take readings, wherever you have taken readings or wherever you have to take readings, you mark it, okay, so that we can understand that which regions you are going to consider. See, always the best thing is, see, in these cases, in these reading things and all, always the best thing is to report the different readings, different regions. Because see, average will give you only a misconception. Average tells you that, okay, what is the average from all the regions, and again the average depends a lot on number of cases, whether number of things, okay, number of items that you have taken for consideration. So definitely it is always better to mark the different regions, and you take, I mean, more readings as you wish. I mean, definitely minimum 20 readings you should take, and more than that if you can take, that is better, because then you can have a statistical overview.
What was the range that you told about the
I
answer?
told around 0.2 to 0.3.
So your voice is not clear actually.
0.2 to 0.3. That is the range.
Okay, okay.
So that's what I'm saying. That in that case, you better mark the different.
Sir, I mean, I have got some values like 0.248 and like
Exactly.
0.351 and some, but like some are thick regions, so that's the problem actually.
No problem. You do one thing. Okay. See, we just don't want to see whether we are getting the right answer or not. So in these things, there are no right answers. In these things, the answers are. I mean, what is your approach? Okay. If your approach is correct, then what you do now? What you do? You mark. You mark those regions where you have taken readings from. So we can see that whether your approach is correct or not.
Or else, sir, if it's about the like mostly it is thin only, but some are thick. So what I can do is maybe I can take more of thin distances and like just one or two of the thick
That you
distances.
can do, yeah, that you can do, definitely. That's what I'm saying. You can remove, but the problem, that's what I'm saying. That is the problem with average. If you take average will only tell you about how many cases you have. Average all depends on the denominator, right? It depends on how many cases you have considered, which regions you have considered. So that's what I'm saying. You take average, not a problem, but you better mark the different regions that you have taken, so that we can understand which regions you have taken. Anyways, what was your answer? 0.6, no?
0.68, yeah.
0.68. Okay. Okay. I think today's class will not be enough. Okay. So after this, you just better take more readings and just check. Okay. 0.6 is a bit too much. I mean, 0.6 might be. I mean, see, 0.6 means quite close. You better again recheck the values. I mean, recheck the values. You better. Do more calculations. It will be better. That will tell you. Okay. I said minimum 20. You can do more also. It's not a problem. Okay, if you guys are done, only 5 minutes are remaining for this class. So, okay, so this is our homework. So this is another kind of PLI. It's all kind of steel, but and this homework is a bit more. You have to spend a bit more of energy for this homework. So you have to read this paper. Okay, this paper you will get all the answers. So first answer I will discuss today in today's session. Second is which kind of steels you would expect this. The composition is given in this paper. And the same thing that you have done, determine the interlaminar spacing, and this read the literature below and explain that how you can obtain this kind of microstructure. See, if you carefully look at this microstructure and you carefully look at this microstructure, these are very, very different. Can you tell me what is the difference between here and the previous microstructure? Previous was full lamellar. This first, the second was what is the difference? This is again a PLite, but what kind of PLite is this? There's a very funny term actually. That's called a divorced PLite. The ferrite and cementite are not together. And I mean not together in the form of lamella. So that's called a divorced PLite. Okay, read about it. Read about it in this paper. I mean, it is very well explained. Okay, I just want to know. So I told you the first answer already. This is called a divorced PLite. Interlamellar spacing you can find out. Okay, just okay. In this case, that's a bit trickier. I will tell you how to find out. Here, all these white regions you are seeing, the different white regions you are seeing. So here the contrast is a bit different. So these white regions are nothing but PLite here. Okay, I am also telling you the answer also of this. So this PLite here, just take the midpoints, okay, of this different white regions, and whatever I told you, like the steps I told you, 20 readings minimum, and just tell which regions you have taken and what is the answer, average answer. Okay, average value. Okay, so okay, fine. And then in which kind of steels you would expect this? You just read this paper. It is for given the first page of this paper only. And then okay, and just you have to explain. I mean, I don't have to write 10 pages. Just write one. I mean, half a page, not more than that. As just half a page how can you reach this kind of microstructure? Because in your classic textbooks you will find always that PLite has a laminar morphology, but it is not always that PLite will have a laminar morphology. I mean, it can have different morphologies also, and this is one of the other common morphologies. It's called a divorced PLite. I mean, where you will have alpha and Fe3C not staying together or not staying in the form of a lamina. They are a bit separated or divorced. That's the reason it's called a divorced PLite. got the thing, no? Got the homework, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, okay, so if you have doubts regarding today's session, you can ask now because this is around 2 almost. So, or else you can leave also. But ensure that you give all your attendances, okay, before leaving. I mean, had you given? I just forgot to mention in today's session before the beginning that you guys please put all your attendances, okay, in the chat box. Roll number.
So what's the range of answer for this thing, for this example?
I have to check actually. I didn't check. I have to check again. I have to read this paper. I mean, I read it, but I just don't remember it. I will again check and let you know. Okay, maybe this thing.
So could you post like
Sure,
the range of
sure.
answers that are acceptable on the classroom so that it's
The classwork is 0.2 to 0.3. I told you.
no, I mean on in the classroom. I mean, like in the Google Classroom, if you can just
Okay.
put the range of answers that are acceptable for this.
Sure. I will put it. Okay, I just
Yeah.
forgot it. Okay, sorry for that. I will maybe within some time. I will shortly only today.
Yes, sir.
So first you give it a try. First you read this paper. This paper it will take some time for you to read. You see, this will also help you to develop some way of reading a research paper. Okay, so that is very important. You should understand these things. Okay, so this is the thing. Okay, so if you have doubts from today's session, you can just go ahead and ask, or else I have give your attendance. Okay, and give your attendance in the chat box, and then you can leave. If you have not understood something, stop sharing maybe.